always fun when you're sitting here in the Nerve Central and things go wacky. Always a good time. You know, you just have to smile. You have to smile. Running a little behind this morning from some techie stuff, but we're back up and running. Before I go any further, shout out to one of my presenting sponsors, Optical Expressions, the glasses that I'm wearing right now, handmade by Optical Expressions right here in Barrie, fourth floor of the Blanchard Block. They've got a sale that's going on right now, 25% off all sunglasses. Prescription, non-prescription, doesn't matter. They did this last year. It was a huge success. That's why they're bringing it back. So it's a perfect time to grab some shades. And if you want to make them summer shades, that's fine. Take them, get them, put them away until the summer if you want. Or drive with, some style. Maybe you're out in the hitting some slopes, or maybe you're driving in the car and you just want some added protection from all that glare during the snow, during the winter. This is a great time to take advantage of it over at Optical Expressions. Also, I was over at Montpelier Volkswagen yesterday checking out a 2025 Atlas. Beautiful car, 0.9% APR. These are all end-of-year specials that are going on. The 25 Atlas Cross Sport, 1.9 APR right now. Gorgeous cars. Going to get over there and take a couple of pictures of them. But whatever it is, Montpelier Volkswagen, the place to be. High performance, low pressure, home of the big deal. Thank you, Montpelier Volkswagen, for proudly presenting the Aired Out podcast. It is so nice to see you. I can't see you, but maybe you can see me. We have some snow that's coming into the picture. Looks like around 3 inches for most of central Vermont tonight. Meanwhile, today, cloudy and 29. But yeah, it's there's supposed to be some mixed stuff in there too. Some sleet, some freezing rain, some icing, all of that stuff. It's not going to be the greatest travel tonight. Give you that big heads up. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy. Snow showers in the morning and 33. Birthdays today. Alice Farrell, Stephen Donahue, Bobby Joe Stellato, Inigo Lewis, Wayne Ladd, Tanya Jablonski, Robert Ledoux, James Roger, Lindsay J., Stephanie Austin, Stuart Fremont, Abby Manning, and Melissa LaForest. Wow. Yeah, Amy's making a great point here. The night to shine is coming. It's coming soon. You've heard Trey on the air with me talking about this, and we're going to be talking a lot more about it as we move closer to February. They're still looking for more volunteers, from what I understand. So I will be in touch with them, and we're going to find out exactly what their needs are for volunteers. Man, it is a pleasure to have you on board. Our good friend Dan Veroni is with us. I believe he's in. Dan, are you in Virginia?
I am in Virginia.
Man, it isn't. Thanks for your patience this morning. It is an absolute pleasure to have you on the air.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on the air with you.
Two-time author, #1 Amazon best-selling author of Rethinking Economic Growth. I posted that link up on the page. You must have an opinion here on what's going on. We've heard the full gamut. Prices are going to spike. Prices are going to drop. In the news yesterday, shares of Chevron jumped 6%. I think you are probably well aware of that. Obviously, the result of Trump's military intervention in Venezuela. But what does this mean for prices at the pump? What does this mean for the overall U.S. economy? What say you?
Great question, and boy, that's a big question. A few words with a lot of answers. So, bottom line is that energy prices are economic multipliers for better or for worse. So here's where we are. Gas prices across the board, pre-Venezuela this weekend, were down about 20, 25% from a year ago. That's very good news. Why it matters is pre-Venezuela is that uh, that has impact on inputs into the economy, from fertilizer, feedstock, diesel prices, all of those things impact inflation and the cost of things. It's one of the measures that the Federal Reserve looks closely at when they're making determinations on interest rates. So that's part one of this. So part two is, what are the implications of what happened in terms of energy prices, gasoline prices, and affordability here in the US? Let's get right to it. So we have to know what we don't know. So in my consulting practice, I tell clients all the time, we have to act on what we know versus what we think. Right now, there's a lot we don't know, right? So we don't know what the infrastructure is or isn't in Venezuela these days. We don't know how quickly, in addition to Chevron, oil companies will want to get back in, what kind of security guarantees that they'll want or not, what the status of the government is or isn't. A lot of these questions have got to be answered um, before we can rationalize what'll be any price issues. But if we were to take the leap and say, all things being equal, that the government will be stabilized, that all of the energy companies, in addition to Chevron, want to get in, and they get what they need to build their infrastructure. The infrastructure could take 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever number of years to get up to speed. So all those factors are on the table. But what does this mean? Will it be a price stabilizer? Will it be a price shock? The one thing I can say is, from my perspective, that when you add supply uh, to a market like the U.S. market, the greater the supply, the lower the price. So if you've got a supply and lower demand, prices are going to come down. So that's the way I see it today. But I see it that way because there's a lot we don't know, if that makes any sense.
So there could be you're kind of suggesting there could be a little supply surplus, maybe.
It could be, sure, without a doubt. So, with President Trump coming back into office, he has lowered the regulations, um, eased a lot of the permitting issues, and there is a lot of onshore drilling here in the U.S.
Hmm. So
And I think that matters. But I want to raise something else for you, JD. You
please,
didn't ask it, but what I want to do is I want to sort of play a little bit of 4 or 5 dimensional chess on this stuff. So when I look at things, when I heard the news on Saturday, clearly I thought about affordability and pricing. I checked that box, I thought that through. But then I looked from a global perspective and I just said, no, what exactly does this mean? What are the impacts? So you may remember that when President Trump was campaigning over the last couple of years for another term of the presidency, he indicated that he said that if he were in office, that uh, President Putin would not have invaded Ukraine. So let's get to the why of that.
hmm.
When prices per barrel are $45 or lower, Russia can't afford to pay for war because Russia is a one trick pony in their economy. It is oil. They are a big oil producer. They're like one big gas station. So when their prices are at $45 or lower, they don't have the money to afford a war. In President Trump's first term, prices were at or below that level, right? So they didn't invade. So what I thought is this an opportunity to lower the price per barrel globally? And if so, might this also mean uh, a potential end over whatever period of time to the war in Ukraine? Question mark. So as we think about this, we need to think about these things in global terms. I think about it domestically from affordability, then I think about it globally. And then the other piece of that, multi-dimensional strategic chess game is we've got China, Hezbollah, and Iran and Russia involved in South America, specifically in Venezuela, and we've got Cuba there. What does this all mean if they go away? Well, it could mean more global stability, could mean.
Hmm.
So I want us to be thinking about this on the grandest possible scale and saying, what are the potential impacts? But before we get to those potential impacts, the things in front of us have to be figured out. They've got to be answered. Will the government that's there right now be responsive to the president and to Secretary of State Rubio? Question mark.
Hmm.
What's the status of the infrastructure? Question mark. What is the willingness of the energy companies, in addition to Chevron, going in back into Venezuela? So questions, but there's different possibilities on the table.
We need to remember that Venezuela currently produces less than 1% of global oil, the whole supply.
Yeah, we absolutely need to know that. But here's one thing. Um, here's one thing that I would absolutely keep in mind. Here's one thing that I absolutely keep in mind, that when you look at what the U.S. produces and what Venezuela produces, because right now they're not pumping at capacity. And oh, by the way, we don't really know what their reserves are.
Hmm.
Could be 100 billion, 100 billion gallons. We don't know that either. But potentially, we could have a situation where the U.S. controls a fairly considerable share on a percentage basis of the world's global oil output. That would be a win from national security purposes. It would be a win in terms of price stability and price stabilization.
Are you still with me?
I am.
Do you feel that a lot of this is where's the separation between reality and a little bit of fear mongering?
So I encourage people on both sides of the conversation to look at things as objectively as they can and on a strategic basis. We had illegal drugs pouring into the country, and they were killing somewhere between 100 and 300,000 Americans. It was beyond dangerous. It was untenable. And we needed, as a country, to not only secure our borders, but to make sure that drug traffic slowed and came to a stop. It was just imperative that that happened. So while people may or disagree or agree with that it happened, at the end of the day, we owe it to our citizens and to ourselves to make sure that we are secure as a country. So at the face of it, strategically, the decision to do what was done on Saturday makes perfect sense.
What say you, Dan, about Canada in the mix here? Um, Getting I've had some comments over the last couple of days that Canada is one of the big players here and maybe the sleeping giant.
So interesting. So right now, we've got pipeline agreements and there's oil flowing from Canada because they have considerable reserves. Now, on the other hand, if you know, if things worked out to optimum conditions and there was access to Venezuelan oil, uh, we might get oil at a lower price point from Venezuela than we do from Canada. And honestly, it may set up a competitive situation where Canada might lower its pricing.
So, bottom line, what you're saying is we all need to basically bottom line here, take a deep breath and relax. There might be some medium to long term effects here, but if there are, uh, I mean, there's some geopolitical risk, but um, take a deep breath here and stop freaking out. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. You know, it, to me, on a strategic basis, people need to act on what we know versus what we think.
Yeah.
If we act on what we know versus what we think, we will all take a deep breath and say, maybe we should pause and take a step back and see how this works out.
Yeah.
Because if it works out favorably for the Venezuelan people and favorable for the U.S., then I think we've got a win-win going.
What do you think of the of Chevron shares jumping 6% or more?
Well, so that's the one energy company, the one U.S. based energy company that still has a presence in Venezuela. They stand to gain immediately if things work out favorably.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense that their shares jumped.
You have stock in Chevron?
I don't know that. We've got a financial manager, and I haven't looked at it in the last couple of months.
Huh. Tell us about your book, Rethinking Economic Growth.
So this is my second book, and I absolutely love this book for the following reasons. One of which is the heart and soul of the U.S. economy are small businesses. 99.9% of the companies come from small business. Two of three private sector jobs come from small business. Half the U.S. workforce comes from small business. When small business is doing well, the overall economy is and doing well here in the United States. This is a book that tells the story of small business. There are 12 case studies, 12 different industries, and there are 35 small business leaders that speak with passion about their concerns, their challenges, their opportunities, how they've adapted, and what the way forward is. Uh, they talk about how they build these ecosystems inside their communities, and they create their own magnifier effect. How they play a role in supporting, sustaining, and driving community prosperity. And it ends with a roadmap for small businesses for things that they can do on a policy basis to make business conditions even more favorable. But what I will tell you is the two things that I heard the most in the interviews and in the survey that we conducted of a couple of hundred small business owners is as follows. We learned that the cost of regulations is prohibitive. And what I mean by that is that the last administration imposed regulatory costs to the tune of about $1.4 trillion. If you're a small business and on average they employ 8 or fewer people, you don't have the scale to support compliance and pay compliance costs. So that really squeezed them in a substantial manner. The second thing is they need access to affordable capital, and those were the two big things. Things that they were excited about were the big beautiful law, having 100% expensing, first year expensing for plants and equipment. But they want certainty in tax policy. They want certainty in regulatory policy. They're absolutely determined and interested in uh, the federal government and state and local governments coming up with a scaled version of regulations for small businesses.
Who's the fascinating to hear that, Dan? Who's the in your opinion, and maybe you don't have one. I don't know. Some of your notable small business friendly states in America.
So that's a really good question. So I can go immediately to Indiana, to Texas, to Florida, to Alabama, to Georgia, to Nevada. I can go to Wyoming. Um, I would start with those states, but I will tell you the Northeast and California are very challenging. One of the small business leaders that I interviewed lives and works in California, and he described circumstances that were beyond challenging. And there's a lot of regulation, a lot of paperwork, and a lot of it not very necessary. But there are states that are very friendly. Currently, I'm in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Virginia is small business friendly. North Carolina, South Carolina. I already told you Alabama. Mississippi is another one.
We have a good number of Vermonters that have communicated with me over the last couple of years, saying that Vermont is taking a pretty good slide with how small business friendly it is. I hear that more. I For every one of those, I, I for every 10 of those, I probably hear one that Vermont is small business friendly. We got a lot of work to do in this little Green Mountain state.
I will tell you, the situation comes to, there's a desire. Uh, Look, not all regulations are bad. Regulations are necessary. But what needs to be kept in mind is that there's a cost of too much regulation. So if small businesses are generating 2 out of 3 private sector jobs, if small businesses are collaborating and supporting local communities, we need to really think about uh, a a scalable version of a regulatory structure that small businesses can comply with, where they're not going to be squeezed. And the same goes with taxes. Small businesses operate on incredibly tight margins, and one miss one way or the other means they're either going to lay people off or they're closing down. So if we want economies to grow locally, regionally, in different states, and then nationally, we have got to think differently about how we regulate, how we tax small businesses. Small businesses are the key to growth in this country. So, why I wrote the book is that I noted between 1961 and 2024, we hadn't had a consistent 3% economic growth. You're going to say, Dan, so why does that matter? It matters because, the size of our economy is, in round numbers, around $30 trillion. 3% is almost $1 trillion in additional investment that we can put back into the economy. So, 3% growth matters. I believe the way to consistent 3% growth is through small business. That can and will only happen with scaled and smart regulation and tax policy. And in addition to that, certainty around scaled regulation and tax policy.
We also need to rethink the way we shop, Dan. I mean, we've been pushing that on the air here for the last couple of months. We always do leading up to the holidays. But man, it's like if you're spending your buck locally, it's going to stay in your local economy. And so many of us love to shop from the couch, Temu, Sheen, Amazon, whatever it may be. But man, you got to support your local businesses to keep them alive.
Without a doubt. So we have um, local hardware stores and coffee shops and different restaurants that we go into. So even in a franchise situation like an IHOP, they are in fact locally owned, right?
Right.
A UPS store is in fact locally owned.
Sure.
Ace Hardware is in fact locally owned.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are in those stores all the time because they're locally owned. And it matters. So what's interesting, I remember when we were raising our kids, our son was always in the league baseball, and it was the small businesses that were the sponsors of the teams. For
Yes.
gosh sakes, right?
Yes. Yes.
Small businesses give back into the community, and oh, by the way, when our kids in school age, when they turn 16, they're able to work. They work at the small businesses.
Hmm.
When they come home in between semesters in college, where they work at small businesses.
Hmm.
Uh, small businesses are deeply rooted in every community around this country.
Yeah. Well said, man. I appreciate your time so much. Rethinking Economic Growth is the name of his book. Dan, how do you pronounce your last name now? I want to make sure I got it right.
It's Veroni,
Veroni.
and the book can be found on Amazon. It's on Amazon.com. And I hope your listeners not only buy the book, read the book, encourage small businesses to get the book. And if there are any elected officials or policymakers listening to your podcast, I encourage them to read this book because the stories that are told by these small business leaders in each of the case studies are very compelling, and they will get a lot of great information from them.
I'm told that we have a few legislators that are listening this morning. Vermont's next legislative session begins today. So the
Marvelous.
timing is perfect for this. And I again, Dan, I really appreciate your time. Can we sneak you on again sometime?
Absolutely. I'm also happy to talk about the jobs issue, interest rates,
Oh,
so on and so forth.
let's. I'm gonna email you. Let's do that real soon.
Sounds great. Look forward to it. And thank you so much for having me on, and have a great rest of the day.
I appreciate it. You as well, Dan. I know that education is going to be. What a great guy, man! I love chatting with people like that. But education is going to be right at the top of the mind for so many lawmakers heading back to Montpelier today. Act 73, which passed last spring, going to be looked at carefully in the weeks ahead and discussed. A lot of us are going to be talking about education, but small business and surviving small businesses here in Vermont should be at the forefront, I think, of much of the discussion here in the next couple of weeks ahead. Speaking of the legislative session, the Welcome Back Legislators Reception. I spoke about this at great length yesterday. I want to hit it again today. It's in my Central Vermont Chamber Chatter again, which came out this morning. This gathering, as I see right here on my Chamber Chatter from the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce, is a cornerstone of our chamber calendar, offering meaningful opportunities to connect with Vermont legislative leaders, network with fellow business professionals, and celebrate the spirit of our vibrant Central Vermont community. The reception, and you should put this on your calendar, and I'll tell you how you can register. It's really simple. It's Wednesday, February 4th. It's from 5 to 7 at the Governor's Ballroom at the Capitol Plaza Hotel in Montpelier. It's an invitation-only event. It brings together our legislators, our local community business-minded people and business owners, and it's an event that's designed to spark some conversation. This is your opportunity, not just to collaborate with others, but also to raise some concerns and give some kudos to what's going right, what's going well. Thank them if you feel that progress has been made in a certain area. Here's how you get registered to be there. All right, you can't just walk in off the street. You got to let them know that you'd like to be there. Kelly Finnegan is over at the Central Vermont Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to put her email right here in the comments if you would like to be included, if you would like to attend. I'm hoping to be there. I'm hoping I'll be able to stream it live for those of you that can't. But there it is. I just put it in the comments. K Finnegan at centralvt.com. Okay? Community calendar right here in our local community, brought to you by The World, Central Vermont's favorite weekly newspaper, with over 22,000 eyes reading The World newspaper every single week. That's staggering. Don't miss the digital version as well. vt-world.com. Proud sponsor, presenting sponsor of our community calendar here at the Aired Out Podcast. And tomorrow morning, Deb Phillips will be live on the air with me just after 9 o'clock to give you a little preview of what's coming out in the world tomorrow. First off, though, it is Tuesday. We got the Tuesday night dinner at the Barrie American Legion. They do it most Tuesdays. I think if, we're getting nice and stuff, just pay attention to their Facebook page. If they decide they're going to pull the plug on it tonight, they'll let you know. Keep an eye, by the way, on the Barrie Post 10 Facebook page and the World newspaper for the menu. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure what they're cooking up tonight, but I do know this. It's usually something pretty hearty during the winter, like chicken pot pies, beef stroganoff they just did recently, shepherd's pie, stuff like that. Order ahead if you can, please. 479-9058. 479-9058. Starts at 5:30. And if you want to grab and go, it's $12. So whether you dine in or take out at the American Legion, their Tuesday night meal. Tomorrow, Wing Wednesday at the VFW Post 790 in Barrie. Starts at 5 o'clock. And Wellness Wednesday, it's back. First one of 2026, the Well Space Building, right here in Barrie, 23 Summer Street. It is tomorrow, January 7th. And for the rest of the month, the 14th and the 21st, and then 3 Wednesdays in February and 3 in March. The first 3 Wednesdays of the month. And April, too, looking ahead. Absolutely free for our community from Washington County Mental Health. So you get to relax, maybe enjoy some tea, some acupuncture, some meditation. They even do yoga, table massages, chair massages. Call Robin. Let her know that you would like to be there. It starts at 4:30, by the way, at 23 Summer Street, right here in the Granite City. 4:30. Goes till 7. Let Robin know what time you'd like a massage. 479-4055. Tell her you heard about it on Aired Out. 479-4055. Washington County Mental Health. Love them with everything they do for our community and have for over 60 years. Incredible. What else do we have? That's Wednesday. Thursday, we get bingo at the Canadian Club at 7 o'clock. We got a ton of stuff that is coming down the pipe for this weekend. And looking ahead to February, we got the Central Vermont You Know What show. And I can't say the G word on the air because if I do, I get flagged from Meta and YouTube. So the Central Vermont 43rd Central Vermont You Know What show at the Barrie Auditorium. The letters, it's a 3-letter word. It starts with the letter G. 43 years that this has been going on, and it's coming up in February. Amazing. And as Amy led off this morning, Night to Shine. That's coming up February 13th, Friday night. The Elks, going to be huge. If you're not a volunteer, you ought to be. Get on the Faith Community Church. The Faith Community Church Facebook page or website. And I think it's NTS, Night to Shine. Freezing Fun for Families. That's coming up. And I got a message this morning that I'm going to read to you that just came in a little while ago. You ready? Here we go. Good morning, JD. We're getting ramped up for Bikers for Beth. Nominations are open. We'll have a recipient in February. Of course, that's going to be announced right here. I'm working on some new posters this year. We'll be in touch. Very excited to have Stacy on the air with me. Talk about this. Very excited. Listen, it's just the beginning of January, and we're already saying the words Bikers for Beth. Wow. Does that mean that someday it will be warm enough to ride a motorcycle? Isn't that a great feeling? Yeah, it is. The fact that we're talking about this already is encouraging to me. It gives me great hope. We're not going to freeze our asses off that much longer. It's a couple of months away, really. May. We got a lot to look forward to. This weekend's going to be great. Playoffs starting up on Saturday. A wild card matchups between the Rams and the Panthers, Packers and Bears on Saturday, and then Sunday, Bills, Jags, 49ers, Eagles, Chargers, Patriots, and the big one on Sunday night, the Texans and the Steelers. I hope that my brother, I hope that Chris Autry take their blood pressure medications before the game starts. A good hour before the game starts would be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Facebook question of the day. I'll post it up if I haven't already. I believe I have. Do you think and I should have asked Dan this, but he's going to be back on the air with me soon. Do you think the job market's great freeze will break in the coming year? Do you think the frozen job market could be heading into a bit of a moment of reckoning? How do you think about this? You know, Dan was just on the air shortly talking about how important small businesses are. They account for 2 out of every 3 jobs created in America. And yeah, there's going to be some nice tax breaks that are already starting to kick in, hopefully. But how optimistic are small business owners about the outlook for 2026? What will take the forefront of the discussion today under the Golden Dome in Montpelier as we start up the legislative session today? Will it be education? Will it be small business? Will it be our drug epidemic here in this tiny little state in New England? Will it be homelessness? Will it be housing? Will it be mental health? And look at how intertwined all of these things are. All of them. So closely related. It'll be interesting. And I look forward to watching and seeing what happens. And maybe, just maybe, as it was suggested to me yesterday by a friend, that I should be talking about this stuff a lot more here in the airwaves. I will admit that I love entertaining you. I love goofing around. I love having fun. I'd like to do that more with you in 2026. But if there's something that you would like to hear more of or less of, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. Listen, it's Tuesday. $5 Tuesdays are back. Where? At the Capitol Theater. What that means is that all movies playing at the Capitol Theater on Tuesdays, day, night, doesn't matter. Afternoon, matinee, evening movies, usually they start around 6:45. They're all $5. FGBtheaters.com. Get your tickets in advance. I did that last week. It's so easy. So easy. Then you just walk in with the barcode. Boop. That's it. Did I say barcode? I meant to say QR code. You can even get your FGB card. Maybe get a gift card for somebody. Say, hey, thanks for help, but snow. And some of it could be kind of heavy and damp. Could be some sleet, some freezing rain, all in the mix tonight into tomorrow morning. And it's still going to be a messy commute tomorrow morning. 33 for the high tomorrow on Wednesday. Have a beautiful rest of your Tuesday. Mine has started out kind of interesting. Got a smile on my face, though, and I hope you do too. God bless you. We'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks for catching the podcast, streaming us everywhere you get your podcasts. We're there. Live on YouTube, live on Facebook. And remember, if there's an episode you enjoy, if we connected with you in any way, maybe we hit a nerve or a little hot spot, share it. Share it with your friends. Share it on your social media. Always real, always raw, relevant, and mostly relatable. It's the Aired Out Podcast right here where you are now. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. God bless again.